perfect morning with my favorite magazine. I wonder why we discontinued this.
Hey, Rob!
And just like that, I get my answer. What do you want?
You want to know what I just heard?
My interest in what you've heard could not be any more absent.
Oh, I think you might.
William, what information could you possibly have that is worth my time?
Well, only that Sega does.
What did you just say to me?
Oh yeah, they do.
Now you listen to me. We destroyed Sega a long time ago. They're a history.
You know what? None of that stuff matters because at the end of the day, Sega does.
I swear to God, if you keep saying that,
I'm going there.
you better not.
Sega does.
I'm gonna kick your ass.
What Nintendo don't. Alright, first of all, guys, we're in this way too hot. Big mistake. Second of all, it is 2017. Do you know what that means? It has been nearly 30 years since the creation of Sonic the Hedgehog. Can you believe it? God, I am getting old. I mean, it was just yesterday. I was a child playing my Sega Genesis for the first time with the classic Sonic games. Sonic the Hedgehog has always been a huge influence on my video gaming career growing up. But I gotta tell you guys, it really hasn't been easy being a fan of the Big Blue Blur. Fewer video game icons have been through the emotional roller coaster of good and bad games as much as this guy has. And it really just makes you ponder and question just what went wrong.
Screwing with me and Nintendo was their first and fatal mistake.
Oh, for God's sake, would you let it go?
I'll never let it go.
Despite Sonic and Sega's shortcomings over the years with games that really missed their mark, fans, including myself, still come back with the hopes that Sonic the Hedgehog will regain that momentum he had many years ago. But I ask, is it possible at this point in time to make a game that shows that the heart is still there?
Whoa, now that is a good start.
Sonic Mania, a game being developed by Sega of America, along with Headcanon, Pagoda West Games, and the respected taxman himself, Christian Whitehead. This game immediately got everybody hyped for Sonic once again, myself included. Not only was this going to be a new 2D adventure, but it was going to have callbacks to the originals, updated sprites, and new moves to give it that feel that this really could be that long-awaited Sonic the Hedgehog 4. No, not that garbage!
Now that Sonic Mania has been released to the general public, can Sonic fans such as myself finally rejoice and relive the glory days of ages long past? Well, let's get started. And I gotta tell you guys, I got a really good feeling about this one. But before we get started, at the time of this review's release, the game is still brand new, having only been just barely a week old. So, spoiler warning is in order.
The plot in this game is something I think you really only learn the more you play. There is no in-game dialogue like in the new games, and it really only tells the story the way we were used to it being told back in the glory days. You saw the characters acting out, and you kind of filled in the blanks. Or you looked into the video game's manual for a plot summary. Or in this day and age, on the internet. The story is a true sequel to the classic era and takes place after the events of Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic CD, and finally Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles. Our team returns to Angel Island, learning of a new mysterious energy wave going haywire there. Dr. Robotnik learns this pretty much at the exact same time, and heads to Angel Island to investigate as well. When Sonic and Tails arrive, they see Robotnik and his 5 elite robot masters, aka the hard-boiled heavies, already on the site to retrieve whatever it is that's causing this energy signature. Turns out that it happens to be a powerful gemstone called the Phantom Ruby. What does it do? Well, it certainly doesn't take anybody long to figure it out, as everybody nearby, including Knuckles, who was apparently just chilling off to the side. I don't know what the hell he was doing. I mean, doesn't he have a Master Emerald he should be protecting or something? Lazy echidna. No, anyway, suddenly our group gets transported through space and time to previous events in their adventures. After defeating Robotnik in Green Hill Zone, it appears that the son of a learned how to take advantage of the damn gemstone and is wanting to use it to resurrect his potentially most diabolical plans. Resurrecting Metal Sonic and trying to capture Little Planet, which, in case you don't remember, was the major plot of Sonic CD.
You know, in a funny way, this actually kind of makes sense. Because Metal Sonic, yes, well, definitely one of the most threatening characters in the Sonic the Hedgehog roster. Sonic CD, in of itself, I think is probably one of the harder entries in the series. I mean, there are so many ways you could potentially mess up a playthrough in this game. From having to time travel, having to get all the Chaos Emeralds, and having to shut down all the generators. It's a good game, no doubt, but you'd think Sonic Team at the time would be able to exercise some restraint. I mean, goddamn.
Alright, moving on. Taking advantage of his past mistakes, Dr. Robotnik took the liberty of redesigning and altering a lot of the hazards our heroes have to face on their journey. The hard-boiled heavies, who all got recent upgrades, are also dispatched to handle our Sonic heroes. One by one, they each get defeated until Knuckles is separated from the group, forced to go in alone. Hey, remember the Master Emerald? Remember the shocking experience Knuckles got while trying to protect it? Well, he certainly does, and for the first time, I think we finally see our Echidna friend succeeding in actually doing his job right, and keep the damn thing from getting taken or destroyed. Good job, Knuckles, you didn't screw it up. Meanwhile, amidst all the action, Sonic and Tails managed to get all of the Chaos Emeralds, allowing Sonic to become Super once again. After tearing through the rest of the heavies, leaving only just their leader left, the Heavy King, a mutiny is in order as he decides that the Phantom Ruby would be best in his hands instead of Dr. Robotnik. The final battle ensues, with Super Sonic, Dr. Robotnik, and the Heavy King brawling it out, trying to get their hands on the elusive Phantom Ruby. As you would expect, Super Sonic does emerge victorious, but a strange occurrence happens. The Phantom Ruby activates once again, sucking our blue hedgehog friend in a black hole along with the gemstone. Little Planet does indeed get saved and disappears as it does, but Tails and Knuckles are left without their friend, wondering what has befallen him. And that's where the adventure truly ends. Just kind of on a cliffhanger. I know some would probably be confused by this because, as with most Sonic endings, they tend to fall on the everybody lives and gets to go home. The day is saved sort of stuff. Where did Sonic go exactly? The game never outright tells you, but it does give you a pretty subtle hint. In the final shot of the game, before the credits roll, there's an image that pops up of Sonic posing in a very familiar stance. Now, if you've seen the trailer for the upcoming Sonic Forces game, modern Sonic once again teams up with classic Sonic Generation style. But notice the emergence of classic Sonic when he makes his surprise appearance. Boom, there you have it. Sonic Mania's story, while a continuation of our classic games, also just might serve as a possible prequel for Sonic Forces. And you know what? I'm actually pretty okay with this. I'm not going to make any bold claims like Sonic's got a whole different split timeline thing going on, which honestly I think might be becoming a popular topic, but still it was really nice to see a pretty simple story once again told in that familiar gameplay style where the actions of the characters spoke louder than their non-existent words. Whenever Sonic games do try to take their plots too seriously, things get weird. It's a game about an anthropomorphic colorful animal saving the world from a mad genius bent on world domination. It's a very simple concept. It's okay for the plots to get dramatic sometimes, like in the adventure games, and I think a series like Sonic works best when it doesn't stray too far from that formula. Additionally, I do think it's a pretty clever idea for this game to link into the upcoming story for Sonic Forces. Unless, of course, I happen to be way off and I looked too deep into it.
Well, that just about covers it for the story of Sonic Mania, but as we all know, it's not the story of a Sonic the Hedgehog game that truly determines whether or not the game is good. Let's check out the gameplay.
First thing I'll say right off the bat is that anybody who is at all familiar with Sonic games of the Genesis days will no doubt feel right at home here. The team involved in developing Mania, I feel, did a phenomenal job emulating the playstyle, including the frame-perfect button commands that these games demanded you have. The look, the feel is most definitely there, and despite the prettier sprite animations and popping backgrounds of some of the newer stages, it was very welcoming and it didn't seem at all out of place. I'll be frank, I did have some concerns when I saw that a handful of the older stages from days long past were going to be reused for Sonic Mania. But believe it or not, I think in some ways this might have been a good call. However, don't be too anxious. Mania does indeed have a handful of newer stages, examples being Mirage Saloon, Studiopolis, and the Press Garden. But what I mean by good call is that it keeps the game familiar, but also expands upon what we know, allowing the player to be comfortable, but also surprised at the same time. I myself am a seasoned Sonic fan, so when I say here probably doesn't make much sense to any newcomers, but when replaying stages like Chemical Plant or Hydro City, stages I know very well from Sonic 2 and 3, I felt confident in knowing what to expect these levels to throw at me, even though they've been redesigned from the ground up. Some of the zone structures were kept familiar on purpose, but shortly thereafter, the new additions begin to throw a curveball at you. One thing to note is that these zones are huge. Levels that appeared in Sonic 1 and 2 that used to be somewhat simple with really only one way to go have been expanded and rebuilt to such gigantic proportions and filled with new surprises that'll catch veterans off guard for sure, but equally be a pleasant surprise for both them and younger Sonic fans. Remember the power-ups in Sonic 3? Remember the electric shield that would, gravitate rings towards you? What about the fire shield that allowed Sonic to do a fire dash? Familiar stuff, right? But ever wonder what would happen if you used that fire shield power-up in Oil Ocean stage from Sonic 2? Jesus Christ!
Whoa! Now that cannot be environmentally friendly. Was that weak?
In Sonic Mania's entirety, there's 12 zones in the game, which comes to about 24 levels total. The developers made it clear that they wanted to make a game in length that matched the combined cartridges of Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And yeah, oh boy, they succeeded. Now when I said the levels were gigantic, there's a good reason for that. You can choose to play as 3 of our favorite heroes, Sonic, Tails, or Knuckles. While all of them do visit the same stages, with the exception of Knuckles, which I'll get into, each character naturally has their own uniqueness. Sonic this time has an all-new drop dash feature that allows him to get a quick burst of speed from a standstill.
Now I know the drop dash might not look like a whole lot, but trust me, you'd be surprised how much you actually depend on the move.
It's handy for those moments where Sonic's caught in momentum and needs that extra speed to get the ball rolling. Or just get out of a tight spot, you know. Tails is pretty much rocking the same moves from Sonic 3, therefore he can swim and fly just about anywhere for a good few seconds, allowing you to reach significant heights. And Knuckles, while unable to jump as high as the main two, can climb walls and glide across stages indefinitely. And on occasion break through certain walls, allowing him to access areas within stages that Sonic and Tails cannot. Knuckles exclusively has one stage in the Mirage Saloon and a couple of bosses catered to him due to being separated from the team. Knuckles' first act is to climb out of a canyon, whereas Sonic and Tails share the same path and fly the tornado towards their destination. It's because of our heroes' special abilities that the terrain had to become bigger and broader to take advantage of them. Similar to Sonic 3 once again, there's plenty of branching paths leading to some new surprises and hazards. I've been through the game completely with every single character, and I still sometimes get a little lost and end up finding some new content along the way to the goal. There are some pretty fun and unique gimmicks the stages present sometimes. In the Chemical Plant, there's these syringe things that change the texture of the chemicals, having you bounce really far. The Press Garden has these moments where you can become trapped in an ice block and start sliding all over the place, fast pace, having you crash through everything. And I caught a pretty damn awesome reference in this zone as well while fighting the boss of the stage. The ninja Hardboiled Heavy, if you listen to his moves, all of his sound effects were taken straight out of Sega's Revenge of Shinobi game. I thought that was a really awesome detail. It's little things like that that make me appreciate the effort put into these projects. In fact, this game has got a ton of those little hidden Easter eggs, celebrating Sega's 30 years. Taking the time to explore and find them is one of the pleasantries I'm sure fans will delight in doing. You know what? Exploration in general is very inviting and really should be taken advantage of. Sure, the name of the game is Sonic the Hedgehog, and going fast is what you really want to do, but sometimes taking it slow to gather your bearings and trying to understand the layout of the land can prove to be beneficial in the long run. other times, just hidden off to the side in a wall or a structure, you could find some goodies stashed away to keep you in the game or just to give you an edge. Those alone are fun to find, but what you really want to keep an eye out for are the hidden passages that hide one of these big ring warp zones that take you to a bonus stage.
Okay, here we go, guys. Yep. These bonus stages, turns out, are going to be the number one thing you are going to be dedicating most of your time to. And I'm not going to lie, some of you are going to get angry.
Heavily inspired by Sonic CD's bonus stages, these ones require you to chase down a Chaos Emerald in a race while it's constantly flying around the course further away from you. The goal is pretty self-explanatory. Catch the Chaos Emerald before the timer runs out.
You know, simple, right?
Son of a mother! Mother! No! Why? Why? Come on, come on! Bullshit! What a bunch of You son of a The amount of times you could potentially up a run in these stages will make you ponder how. How is it possible where video games, the ultimate pleasure and unadulterated fun, is the one place where you can feel just utter, true hatred and scorn? Ugh. Takes me back to my childhood. Back then, games had no mercy. And neither do these bonus stages. You get one chance, mess it up, and you're pretty much done. Congrats, you wasted yet another opportunity to get a Chaos Emerald, and you're one step closer to losing the true ending. And oh my god, is it frustrating. Honestly, this is nothing new, but it's just as frustrating as it was then. Finding these warp rings in and of itself can be one of the most difficult parts of your playthrough because they are what you want, and they are hidden pretty damn well. Most of the time you'll stumble upon one by sheer accident, or maybe you got lucky with a route that led you right to it, but other times it's by sheer luck you manage to find one of these hidden walls that houses one ready to be found. In my case, I was always so surprised when I did find one that I was not mentally prepared for the challenge I had to face. Nevertheless, the more you inevitably try them or get the chance to, you should be able to pick up on what you need to do and win. The timer runs on rings, so the more rings you collect, the more time you'll have on the course. The blue orbs you collect will fill up this Mach gauge that will increase your speed when you've collected enough. Collecting both is key, as well as trying to map out the shortest route to take in order to catch up to the UFO quickly. The best way that I figured to do it is not to focus on the gauge at all. Just keep my eyes on the course and try to take the quickest shortcuts while prioritizing power-ups I could gather that were in my direct path, making sure to only brake when I was running low on rings and needed to gather some more. The courses really are not that big, and while it did take several trial and error attempts, I eventually became competent enough that I can clear just about every single one of these warp challenges without fail now. I mean, hell, you can tell by just looking at my file selection here that it really did become effortless after a while. Once you do collect all 7 Chaos Emeralds, the selected character of choice will now be able to transform into their super counterpart. Super Sonic, Super Tails, and Super Knuckles. During a stage, if you can collect and hold on to 50 rings, doing a double jump will have them make the transformation. Once in super form, guys, all of the natural abilities of our heroes is boosted. They run faster, they jump higher, they can fly faster, climb faster, they are invincible to all enemies, and damn it, I cannot speak for everybody, but I absolutely love playing as Super Sonic. To me, this is the ultimate treat. Being able to move at insanely fast speeds without worry is pure bliss. My reward for achieving victory and collecting the elusive emeralds, and again, to me, this is the most fun because it allows me to freely explore and run through stages at such a fast pace that it really does have me become more familiar with the lay of the land, which is pretty much the icing on the cake, making future playthroughs even more of a pleasant experience. Of course, being in the super forms has a cost as your rings will constantly keep depleting, but this is hardly an issue as rings in general are pretty abundant, depending on where you go. While we're still on the subject of bonus stages, I probably should make mention of, the sphere grid. Oh Jesus, here we go. While you're speeding through stages, you will no doubt come across these copious amounts of checkpoint beacons. If you have about 20 or so rings on you while you pass these, you will trigger a sphere grid bonus stage you can choose to play or avoid. This is where I have a bit of a issue. At first I didn't find these to be too problematic. I mean, there were 16 of them in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but there they were for collecting the Chaos Emeralds. Here in Mania, goddamn, it did not take me long to see just how extremely rich this game is with these challenges. There is nothing in them that you need to have for your playthrough, but if you want to earn all of the extras this game offers, including the trophies, guess what you're going to be busy doing? This is where I think the devs went a little overboard. There's 32 of these stages. No, you don't earn any Chaos Emeralds this time around.
No, what you get are silver and potentially gold medals depending on how well you complete these bonus stages. Oh, I can see it. If you are a veteran classic Sonic the Hedgehog player, I can see that your jaw just hit the floor at the sudden realization of what you have got to do if you want to get all the gold medals.
In order to get the medals for each bonus stage, you need to perfect the art of memorization, reflexes, and your test of patience, because, my friends, that is exactly what this is. If you really want to prove your worth in the Sonic fandom, your life is now dedicated to the redundant task of collecting all the rings, learning patterns, and getting the blue spheres and trying to get real good at it real fast. I guess some of you can consider yourselves lucky, as you don't need to get the gold medals to earn all the stuff that's in the game, secrets-wise. Just completing them all and earning the silver medals is good enough, but if you want that 100% trophy achievement, and those bragging rights, I guess, you're gonna have to earn it. Sad fact is, nobody will probably care but you. Unfortunately, guys, there is no trick here that can help you either. There really are no hints, no guides, nothing. The only way to do it is just to do it. Speaking of extras, Sonic Mania has a small handful of fitting bonuses and Easter eggs. The ever-so-favorite debug mode is back and works like you expect it to. Just don't attempt to use it to try and cheat your way to unlocking trophies or other secrets. Yeah, I tried it. Doesn't work. You can adjust the game to have Sonic partner up with Knuckles instead of Tails, and you can also switch out Sonic's abilities, exchanging the Drop Dash with his Insta-Shield from Sonic 3, or Figure 8 ability from Sonic CD. In my opinion, though, the Drop Dash is still the better one by far. A nice other little feature you can do from the start of the game is change the filter on the television screen. You can have it look clean, super clean, crisp, or give it that soft composite look from the old days when you had nothing but a coaxial cable. That's pretty cool. After you complete the game with the characters you've chosen, you will have the freedom to go back to any stage you want with all of the abilities you've acquired. This is especially handy if you did miss some of the Chaos Emeralds in your run, because now you can repeatedly travel back to a stage where you know to find one of the warp rings, and can continue to make attempts until you finally succeed. You know, I really haven't mentioned the bosses yet. I mean, they are there, I might as well talk about them, right? In between and at the end of each zone, you face a mini-boss, and then either Dr. Robotnik or one of the hard-boiled heavies. And of course, Metal Sonic shows up briefly as well. Most of the encounters are pretty eventful and have you staying on your toes. Some fights are also more difficult than others, but there's nothing I feel too challenging. Except for maybe the final boss fight with Dr. Robotnik. Jeez man, this ass drains my rings fast. Still, with enough patience and tenacity, victory is pretty much assured. Not once did I ever get a game over, so that should tell you something. One of the best boss fights in the entire game that made me completely giddy with excitement was the sudden appearance of Fang the Sniper, Bean the Dynamite, and Bark the Polar Bear. These characters, to my knowledge, were only ever in the arcade game Sonic the Fighters, which you could play on the Mega Collection. This was really cool to see because I hadn't really seen these characters in anything else since. So that was really something special. As a whole, with the exception of all of the bonus stages, Sonic Mania isn't really a difficult game. In just the couple of days it's been out, I've been able to achieve every single goal and obtained all the trophies and golden medals. It's got its challenging moments to be sure, and probably to an unseasoned player of the classic Sonic games, this could possibly be more of a difficult experience. I don't know, maybe it's just because I grew up with these games that when it comes to Sonic's 2D platformers, I've pretty much got this down to a science. Even if that's the case, the game isn't unforgiving, as there are an unlimited amount of continues. No matter how many times you fail, you will just restart on the current act and eventually anyone will make it through. The real challenge, as I mentioned before, really comes from being able to find and defeat the hidden warp rings in order to unlock the final boss and achieve the true ending of the game. It's not perfect though. While the game does look and it feels great, there have been some interesting glitches that have shown up from time to time. The devs have explained that patches will iron out some of the bugs people have encountered. Mine have been pretty bad, however. I can't account for the glitches others have seen, but I've had a few experiences where the music of the game suddenly stops and then hard crashes my PS4 shortly after. 3 times this happened, but I still think it's a freak accident and not a constant problem. Other glitches have had my characters unexpectedly die for no reason while on a moving platform, or a really weird one was that after defeating Robotnik and his mean bean machine, the game locked up and didn't allow me to continue to the goal, forcing me to pause and then restart the entire stage. Still, to know that these are problems that the team didn't see coming and that improvements will be made, I wouldn't be too concerned about them. One of the best features by far about Sonic Mania, like most Sega games, is the soundtrack. A lot of classic tunes we know and love are back, albeit remixed a little bit for flavor, but even the new tracks for stages like Studiopolis, Mirage Saloon, and Press Garden Zone are so beautifully done that I think they fit seamlessly into the genre of music Sonic's known for. T. Lopes is the composer responsible for the new edition, and while I'm unfamiliar with his other works, he definitely nailed the feel of what makes Sonic's music great to listen to. Great job, man.
So, in conclusion, is Sonic Mania the Sonic the Hedgehog game that we've all been waiting for? Yeah, well, sort of.
For years, all fans wanted was to go back to the roots of what made Sonic the beloved character he became, and despite Sega's interesting attempts to deliver a new game with the famed Hedgehog, well, as history shows, reception has been a roller coaster. Sonic Mania really does highlight that simplicity can and does go a long way. Franchises don't need to have the best graphics ever or try to have a deep and overly edgy story to keep something relevant. This is where the game truly succeeds. It has its flaws, which is to be expected. There's some bugs here and there, and I do think the game does abuse the nostalgia factor a little too much sometimes, but any negative criticism thrown this game's way is easily outweighed by the things that it does right. The new levels are amazing. The redesigns and gimmicks of classic stages are really gnarly. One thing I sadly couldn't make a comment on is the multiplayer. I only have one PS4 controller, but since this game has captured the heart and soul of the classic games, I have no doubt that having a second player to control Tails or Knuckles will only add to the enjoyment of the game. Not everyone is a fan of the traditional Sonic formula. Some probably do prefer the 3D era, which is fine. It's not like there weren't some good ones out there. But it's because of the huge divide within the Sonic fanbase that I think the team responsible for Sonic Mania purposefully chose to play it safe and not go overboard in trying to make Mania unique from its classic predecessors. I think they wanted to keep it just familiar enough while trying some new things just to see if there truly is a market for the traditional style of Sonic games. And after the current reception, boy, I sure hope Sega was paying attention. Sonic Mania, while a great game on its own, might have been just an experiment, which might have opened a door to more new and great ideas for our old school Hedgehogs games. But I, for one, am more than happy to hear and see that he has taken a huge step in the right direction, and I cannot wait to see more.
And at the end of the day, guys, one can only hope. And with a price tag of only $20, Sonic Mania is definitely a game that should be in anybody's collection, and you should definitely go out and enjoy it. Well, there you guys have it. That's my Sonic Mania review for you. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I know it was a little long, but you know, sometimes that's how it goes if you have a lot to say and you're passionate about a franchise. Meanwhile, thank you guys for watching. I'm William Morse from thebrotherhoodgaming.com. As some of you might know, you gotta get used to that. And we will see you next time in the next game review. What is it gonna be? Let us know in the comments. What did you think of Sonic Mania? Have you played it yet? Let us know.
I think the game is garbage and a perfect example of why Sega was a failure.
You know, I'm getting real sick of this. Sega still does what Nintendo... Bye.
What the hell I thought?